Hello everyone and a warm welcome into Sit Still Look Pretty. This is Priyanka joining y'all on my solo special episode for the month of December. Every year, Priya and I usually have two episodes that goes out that is just us on the podcast alone. So you guys will have alone time with Priya and alone time with me every single year. But for this year, we decided to switch it up a little bit and connect like a festive period with our solo special. So for me, it will be Christmas for my solo special episode, and for Priya, it will be New Year. And I thought it is kind of cute in a way, right? Because you guys are wrapping up 2024 with me and starting 2025 with Priya. And of course, we have 3 more episodes in 2025 where you will be hearing Priya and I on the official Sit Still Look Pretty recording before we move to a new show format. This is just to basically give us a little bit of time before we adjust to the whole new kind of change that is coming ahead for Sit Still Look Pretty. But without much further ado, I just want to say I'm so happy to always get a moment on Sit Still Look Pretty to have my solo episode with you guys, because it makes it so special and so cozy and warm for me to talk about my personal thoughts with you guys. And so let me introduce firstly the topic of the month: what the heart wants. Clearly, I was inspired by Selena Gomez and her song, but for those of y'all who know that song, it is a really good one. I've been a long time fan of Selena Gomez, waiting for her to perform someday right in front of my eyes, hopefully in Singapore one day, and I can watch her perform. Given the fact that kind of inspired me, but truly what inspired this episode is the fact that this is the time that all of us are counting down to end the year 2024. Many of y'all might feel differently about the year. Towards the end of the year, we are always hearing some people talk about how trashy and crappy the year 2024 has been for them. And some of us are extremely satisfied with how the year has been. And now comes for me. How would I rate 2024? I think 2024 is a very, I cannot emphasize that amount of very, but a very special year for me. I really had a wonderful year, a very promising year, a year filled with bountiful level of blessings for a fact. To begin with, 2024 was the year that I officially graduated and got my bachelor's. That was a huge round of celebration. I landed my first big girl corporate job in the year 2024. That was another crazy round of celebration. And then we got Abhinayam screened on the big screen. That was a crazy level of unexpected kind of news. We had media coverage, press coverage on radio station for the first time round. At this point, I know you guys are like, yeah, so you have nothing to complain about 2024, right? 2024 was clearly like a perfect year for you. It was truly a year filled with such great blessings that I never thought would come my way. At the same time, I think when you have great blessings that come your way, there's also a lot of learning curves that come with it. I do feel that way about 2024 very strongly, in the sense of there were many a times that I felt like all these blessings gave me space to take a step back and reflect on whether or not I'm truly satisfied with where I am, whether or not I've truly ensured that I've done things in the right way. And so in that aspect, I do feel that 2024 provided me with a lot of room of reflections and things that I want to correct myself moving forward. And to start that with, I feel that 2024 was also definitely a year of forgiveness. This might come a little bit weird on the podcast, like Priyanka, you just went from 0 to 100 really fast. But I do feel that because of all these good things that was happening in my life, it also provided me with a lot of room to think about letting go of the past. I do feel that at a certain point of time when you're hustling, you're achieving a lot of different things, you kind of get absorbed, right? In that very moment, you're like, okay, like these are so great things that is happening in my life. I'm so crazy excited about things and everything moving forward from here. But I feel that I've always been the kind of person, fingers crossed, I always want to continue being this kind of a person whereby I always step back and I have a moment of reflection. And when I was reflecting was when I realized that, okay, Priyanka, it is time to let go of the past. And to let go of the past, you need to develop a heart of forgiveness. And that was kind of my big focus for the year 2024, halfway through, where I was telling myself that now that you have got all these things in check, it is time to disassociate yourself with everything that you have been so hard on yourself. You clearly made it in a certain way. There's a long way to go. I do address that. So now it's time to put the past behind you and to tell yourself that, okay, I forgive you. I forgive myself for all the times that I felt hopeless, for all the times I felt like I let down myself in a really, really bad way. I know it's going to be a continuous process of trying to forgive myself in years to come, but I think what I really wrapped my head around was the fact that sometimes you just got to let go in order to move forward and have greater things in your life. And I felt like 2024 was such a beautiful, reflective year of providing me with so many blessings that it gave that room and space for me to forgive myself, to work on forgiving myself, and to move forward to greater things in my life. And speaking about greater things in my life, if you know, we are in the month of December, which means that I'm counting down the last few days of spending time with my family, my friends, and with everybody that is so, so special to my heart, because it's truly the last few days before I fly off in the month of January. So if you ask me, what does the heart truly want? The heart just truly wants a little bit more time, a little bit more days to have the most magical Christmas celebration with my loved ones. 2 years is a really long time, and I'm still trying to process and come around the fact that I will not be seeing all these beautiful faces for quite some time. Of course, I am blessed at this point of my life to have a few of my friends and family tell me that, you know what, like, go, we will be flying to you. But I know that it will just not be the same, right? It's never going to be the same as sitting down in a room filled with people that I love. But I think God has been so, so kind and provided me multiple avenues throughout the year 2024 for me to have my family and friends next to me. So that is something that I am truly grateful for. And I want to wish you guys at this point of time on the podcast a Merry freaking Christmas, guys. We've made it through, almost making it through the 365 days of a countdown of 2024. For some of us, this year would have been the greatest blessing of our life. For some of us, this would have been the trashiest year of our life. Whatever it might be for you, I hope you find space in your heart to still continue to write your very own story. Now that I gave y'all a little bit of Christmas festivity and a little bit about me and what I'm looking forward to the year and things like that, I'm very excited for you guys to meet our special guest speaker who will be talking about what her heart truly beats for and the beautiful work that she has done so far. Get excited and get hyped to meet Rani on Sit Still Look Pretty podcast. Rani is a passionate advocate for body positivity and the founder of the Curve Cult, which started in 2015 to empower plus-sized women in Singapore. From the very beginning, Rani aimed not just to offer fashionable clothing, but to create a space where women could feel confident and proud of their bodies. Over the years, the Curve Cult became a beloved destination for plus-sized individuals looking to express their unique styles and celebrate their bodies. However, after several years of running the business solo, working long hours, and feeling the weight of burnout, Rani recognized the need to shift her focus. Instead of expanding her clothing line, she pivoted to hosting events that foster community, education, and acceptance around body image and fat phobia. Rani has since closed down her shop and launched a new initiative under the Curve Cult, the Fat Wellness Collective. This exciting venture offers classes, workshops, and events aimed at creating inclusive spaces free from diet culture, welcoming not only plus-size individuals but also those who wish to be fat allies. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
I want to ask you the first question, which is the inception of the curve cult. What was the driving force behind this label, and how did your heart play a role in this decision?
I love telling this story only because I feel like every time I say it, then I think about sort of how far I've come. It was a conversation that I was having with my dad. Fat shaming is very common in my household, as it is in many households. But this time, my dad chose to fat shame me at a point. I had just lost my mom. So what he said at the table was we were just having dinner with a few family members. And then he said, oh, you should lose weight because otherwise you can't find a husband. You won't be able to find a husband. And all other times I've heard variations of this, I've just either been silenced or my mom would have stepped up and, said something to support me, but mostly to silence me, as I've realized in therapy. And this unique time, I didn't have that. I didn't have support. I didn't have someone silencing me. And then there was this rage that I've never felt before. And this rage, it wasn't just about standing up for myself. It was this almost as if I was doing this for the collective. I was like, don't ever speak to a girl like that, especially when you're her father. Don't ever tell a girl to change her body, to look a certain way just to get a man's approval. I cannot tell you how problematic it is on so many levels, but I was so enraged. And it's so interesting because, like I said, fat shaming is not uncommon in my household, but this was the first time I was sort of left to my own devices. I was allowed to have a voice against my father. There was some part of me that was just I need to defend myself and defend people, fat people in general. And so it felt like a fire was lit under my butt. And, I was just do not. And then very interestingly, a few months later, I decided I want to do something for plus size people. Obviously, I probably knew 2 other plus size friends. So I couldn't start a community. I couldn't start anything. I randomly messaged 30 bloggers. Only one person replied me, PRI-TEA, who's a plus size blogger. What they're called last time was bloggers. And then right now they do a lot of work around fat acceptance, LGBTQ, all of that. So I was just stuck. I knew I wanted to do something for plus size people. I didn't know what to do. And I thought fashion just felt I would say, in my head, I thought of it as the easiest way, but I think it's also the lowest barrier in terms of things like being body positive, being fat positive is very radical.
Yes.
And it's a lot. And fashion feels like an easy way to introduce this to people. So fashion was really a means and a tool to the end, which was promoting fat acceptance, promoting fat liberation. All of these, I guess, the terms changed over the years because I got more clarity, I understood more and all of that. But it was really a means to an end. I felt like fashion was a great way to introduce accepting your own body. That's why I decided, okay, let's go with plus size fashion. Let's start a store. And that's why the store was always very important for me because it was a way to create a safe space for plus size people who otherwise just don't have spaces where they aren't judged, where they aren't told to look smaller, they aren't told that they're not good enough,
Yeah.
So the physical space was so important because I didn't see spaces like that and I didn't have spaces like that.
Can I just give a shout out that back in 2015, right? You see, these days, things like fat phobia and all the terms that you're using is so common. People understand the moment you use it. But back then in 2015, it was a whole different space, people were shy to speak about it. People were shy to talk about it because the amount of hate that you would get at that point was no joke. So what I want to ask you is, I'm pretty sure you knew the kind of space that you were also walking into.
Yeah.
How did you prepare yourself?
To be honest, I feel like I later realized that I actually have a lot of privilege because I'm a plus size person. I'm a fat person. I'm okay with that term. I'm okay with calling myself fat. But I also subscribe to a lot of norms. I look conventionally beautiful for a plus size person. I do my makeup. I'm very feminine. I like dressing up and I like dressing up in a very girly way. These things are very approved of in society. And that's why I always got comments oh, you're very pretty for a plus size girl. You're very pretty for a fat girl. Or like, you're so nice looking. Like you just need to lose a bit of weight and you'll be like perfect. All of those things. So a lot of that privilege helped me sort of get into people's vision because I was easier to look at than a lot of other fat people. Like when you think of fat people, you think of someone who doesn't bother dressing up, someone who's lazy, someone who is not academically inclined. And I ticked all those boxes. I did really well in school. I wasn't lazy. I was like an overachiever, So in a lot of people's eyes, I was doing the right things. I was just fat. So it was easier to for them to digest me as a person, and which is also why I realized that using my face was so important because they saw me and what I represented. And I knew that I wanted them to do more, but I needed to start somewhere.
The pressure of navigating a business in general is a lot. People always like to talk about the good side of it, of I control my own time. There are some good months where I earn a lot and things like that. But I want to find out from you now, putting aside of the fashion and things like that, running the Curve Cult, how hard was it on you as a first-time business owner yourself?
I really did not know what I was getting into when I decided to open a retail store. Even though I've come from business school, I did accounting, right? I was really just running on my passion. Yes, the idea of starting the business was so great, but most of the times, I don't think I was even operating like a business woman. I was just operating on my passion. Like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to get this out, I need to get that out. Not a lot of things made financial sense, and I did it anyway. Also, I was in my early 20s. I had so much energy. I had no idea of boundaries. I had no idea of my body's limits because just take one more cup of coffee. Sleep is for the weak. Sleep is for when you're dead, So all of those things, I was just on all the time. And also coming from I'm a product of this community, right? I grew up in Singaporean schools. I went to JC, uni, that was the mentality. You just chung. And so I was so good at chunging.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that I was doing. I was severely underpricing my products, which I didn't know. I got a business coach and I recognized that, and I was like, oh yeah, because I run a business. I forgot about that. But I was I want to make it really affordable. I want people to come in and feel really comfortable. And so I was giving without recognizing that I can't be upset if I don't get anything in return because I wasn't even positioning myself to get anything in return. I was hosting a community more than running a business, and it took me a lot of time. A few years later, as I was stepping back and getting people to run that I realized people are running the store, and I was oh, I need to pay them. And then I need to pay myself. Oh, interesting. I need to make money from this, And don't get me wrong, it's not we were not making money. It was just that even though my background was in accountancy and was in business, there was just so much in my head of I wanted to do all of these things. I wanted to create all of these things without recognizing that, okay, this also needs to make financial sense. Yeah. And that also means that how much can I actually go on doing this without burning out? And at that time, I just, again, didn't have that concept of exhaustion. I was just yeah, you can keep going. Sleep next week or something, And then I would do that. I would sleep for 2 or 3 days and then I'll come back and I'll just go.
Yeah.
And another thing was also just this people-pleasing need. I wanted my teammates to really like me. I have never had a boss. I've always worked for my own self. So I always just felt I want to be the best, nicest boss ever. I want to be their best friend. But I'm not here to make friends and they aren't here to make friends either.
True. Yeah.
And also wanting my customers to really like me and really see me and see that I'm doing this for them, which is great, but also it needs to be at a point that I'm putting out how much I can in a sustainable manner and then they need to reciprocate. So I feel I was giving 2,000%, expecting 2,000% in return, but it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Would you say that this was the start of your journey in helping people and helping even yourself to uncover your personal journey towards self-acceptance back then?
I think the self-acceptance thing or even body acceptance thing started right from the start when I started the store, because it's very hard to sort of advocate so strongly for something that's so radical with each person that's coming in, right? It's not just at least at the Curve Cult, because I'm about the 2,000%, right? So it's not about just giving them an outfit. I'm talking them through how you're feeling about your body. let's unpack this, let's do that. Like, so what I was doing was a styling, fat positive styling, clothing, all of that,
okay.
that I know a lot of people really enjoyed. Like, I've spent so many moments like crying, hugging, like it feels like a mini therapy session. I'm not a therapist, but like, people felt like, something was lifted off their shoulders. They felt very seen, very heard. But while I was doing this for people, it's so hard to not think about how far I'm off, like I got really conscious about these people are saying these things about their bodies. Am I also feeling this about my body? So like all of those times I was having those conversations, it was, I feel like in many ways, very easy for me to just check myself and be like, what are my thoughts about this? And then working through them. I am the first one to admit to you that I was actually still very, very fat phobic. Like, yes, I was trying my best, but then all of these things are just rooted, so deeply rooted that I had to sort of like go through many layers of, unpacking them and being like, okay, these are my thoughts, but let me choose to think differently. These are the ways I used to view myself, but let me choose differently. So it was really this muscle that I continued to develop the more I interacted with people.
This is a fun question for you because since you talked about people coming in and you talking them through, till date, if there's a memorable moment or a conversation that you had with one of your customers that will always stay in mind, and if you would like to share, what would that be?
I can't choose a favorite because like literally I have been blessed with the best, most like beautiful experiences and customers. The one experience that really stands out because it was the experience that happened the day before we closed the store. So the second last day of operation, we had this person come in. I want to say they're like 17, 18 years old. They're in-betweeny size. So they're probably the first size that we carry, but they could wear a size smaller.
Okay.
But they came in and they said like, I really want something for, like a dress. I haven't been able to get clothes and I haven't been able to shop in Singapore, which is wild to me, right? Because they are not even like the first size that we carry, they're not considered plus size. They're in-betweeny. They have such a hard time finding clothes. And so they said, I really can't like find something. And I found out about y'all and I was so excited. And then I was just like, yeah, okay, come, let's pick a few things. What do you want to try? So this person seemed very resistant to new styles, but they also acknowledged it. So they said, I would really, really like freak out if I wore off-shoulder dress, but then I would like to try it. Okay. And I was like, okay, like if you're up for it, let's go for it. They took it, they went to try it. And it's very beautiful because my really good friend was also in the store. They were in the back room and they were organizing the stocks, and they didn't come out because they didn't want to disturb us. Okay. But they said this and they said that it felt like when people enter the changing room and they're talking to me, it feels almost like a confessional. Aww. Which was like, I felt so like seen, but also really that's the experience. So this person, they took the dress, they went in and they were talking about how, like, I never feel seen and I feel so lonely in my circles because everyone just wears really like cool clothes. I'd never ever get the opportunity to even try these stuff because it's not even in my size. And I'm so glad that you have this space. And like, I'm so thankful for this experience. And then they came out and it was just like, we were going back and forth talking about how they feel about their body, why they felt this way, when they started having this, like, when was the first time they thought about it? And it was so beautiful. Like, this person was 17, and like the fact that they understood so much about themselves and that they wanted to look at their bodies differently already felt like I am so hopeful for this future generation, and it also reminded me that actually like this space is a space that I use to do all of these things, but then at the heart of it is me and what I do, and I can bring it to anywhere and that will still hold. And I thought it was a very beautiful way to say bye to this space because yes, it has been a beautiful place for people to come to, but then it's just been a vessel. I can take this anywhere and I can give this experience to a lot of other people in different places, not just in the store.
And that was really a very beautiful sharing, especially when you are sharing the fact that she's only 17. That's the thing I also wanted to like talk to you about, because I feel like the thing about body image that even I have like realized in my own personal journey is the fact that you don't have to hit like your 20s to come to a realization that, oh, am I too fat or am I too skinny? Somehow the realization always starts when you're young, and it always starts with someone someone else talking to you about your body. And I felt like that is always, because that's the same thing that happened to me when I was younger. Like, for an example, I used to be very skinny when I was like 5'6". So I remember repeatedly my grandmother used to tell me, "You are so skinny, does your mom feed you?" So every time when this got said, right, I remember I hit a certain point and I was like, you know what? Why is my mom being shamed for the fact that I'm too skinny? I can eat. So I started to eat like, you eat at a point that you shouldn't be eating. I was eating at that point. And then came the next step of stage where I was like, wait, like, why do I look so different? Because now comes a different set of comments that people start telling you that like, oh, you put on a lot of weight, like what's going on? So if I were to ever rewind and think about it, this thing about body image was actually introduced to me at the age of 5, 6. That's the very sad thing that I always feel about things about your body, because you are supposed to discover it on your own. It's not people telling you that, hey, you're too fat or too skinny. And yet, till today, we always struggle with that fact.
I remember reading this book. It's about beauty standards. I cannot remember the title exactly, but it said something about how kids as early as 3 years old get aware of their bodies and how it's not desirable. Therein lies, I feel, the problem, because like you said, you need to find this out on your own. Chances are you're not going to find this out on your own because you're going to hear people talking. But why can't we hear people talking kindly to their bodies? Why can't we hear people talking about their bodies appreciatively? And also, why can't we hear people not talking about other people's bodies?
Yes.
Like, why isn't this common? And, there's so many other systems, right? Like the patriarchy, misogyny, all of this is the reason why we're so obsessed with our bodies, especially women or female presenting folk. There's so many layers. And I think that one important thing that we need to do is just like surround ourselves with people who talk about their bodies very differently from the general public. And until we get to the point where we can all either be that aunt, be that uncle, be that parent who speaks to their bodies kindly and therefore shows the younger people in our lives that this is how you can speak to your body too, I think we're not going to see much of a change. Having said that, in the past decade, I feel like, especially the Gen Z, I'm guessing you're Gen Z.
Yes, that's right.
You talk about your bodies very differently, and there's so much awareness. So I am just really, really hopeful for everything that, I'm seeing.
Moving on to the next question, the closure of your official store, right? Yeah. And I want to pick on that a little bit because I feel like this is something that a lot of people are also a little bit more curious to find out why that decision happened. And I'm pretty sure when you took the decision, these kind of things are a very tough decision to make, especially, when you have put in your heart and soul into something and had so many people come down and have such beautiful conversation. What sparked the thing of like, okay, I'm ready to let go? And how tough of a decision was this for you?
I think I first had this download so I closed in 2024. I had the download in 2023. Mm-hmm. It was the end of the year. Long story short, I had a bit of a download. And the minute I had that idea that, oh, maybe I need to close the store because I feel like I'm hitting a wall with my impact that I'm creating. I feel like I've done this so many times. There's only so much I can do in this space. I want to do more. I want to go beyond Singapore, but I also want to go deeper with the people that I already, work with. And it just feels like the store is always going to be about the clothes first. And I want to do differently. And so when I had this very scary thought, because at that point, like now I feel like it's a bit easier to have this because you already see Fat Wellness Collective. But at that time, it was just the Curve Cult.
Yeah.
And I was so scared. I sent a voice message to two of my best friends because I was like, you need to keep me accountable. I'm going to send y'all a message. And so I ugly cried and I was like saying all of this, which is I feel like I'm hitting a wall with my impact. I've always been about the impact, the money will follow. Like that's just the person I've been and that's how I'm going to live my life. Yes, I'm going to be more business savvy, but then I also want to always lead with impact. And I feel like I'm hitting a road, like a wall with the store. My friends, beautiful as they are, like could see that while I was creating so much impact for people who've never been to the store, also knew that where I was coming from made a lot of sense because they know how much value I bring to people. And this is not for me to like inflate my sense of self. because I know people really need the space and really like the space, but also as one person providing this and one person who's done this for over 9 years, I feel like I want to do better. It's just that people are not going to understand this yet. But then from that time in 2023, end of 2023, every time I went to the store, I was just like, what am I going to do without this? Like, who am I without this? It was very existentialist. It was like, I didn't know who I was without the business, without the Curve Cult, which was problematic on so many levels. It was very fortunate that there's so much good that happened out of it, but then it was also really problematic for me on so many levels because I sort of didn't know my bearings without the business. Even up to the last week of the business, closing, there were a lot of people who kept saying, who came to the store and they're like, you want to take a break? Please take a break, but come back. I even had one of our customers who seemed a bit upset. She was just like, I don't understand. Where am I going to go after this? Like, you need to rest, but come back. And I'm like, thank you very much. But also, like I said, right, I didn't have boundaries. So people didn't see me as Rani. They saw me as the Curve Cult. And they were like, this place is here to serve me and to serve me relentlessly for X amount of years, forever, whatever, because that's also how I positioned myself in the business. And it was really a step back to remind myself that my resources are finite, my energy is finite. So yeah, it was difficult on so many levels, but it also really felt like the right thing. And I knew it was the right thing to do because I want to operate differently.
I'm really glad that against all the pressure, you did what you need to do. And now I want to move on to the Fat Wellness Collective is your new venture right now. And I want you to share the vision behind it and how it reflects your personal journey and values.
Fat Wellness Collective feels like something that I've been wanting to do for so long. Probably what I wanted to start off with, because I remember even as I was getting the lease for the store, moving stuff into the store, when I first started the store in 2015, I was trying to get a yoga class started. Like, I wanted us to come together and just move our bodies. Again, the focus is always being in spaces that is free from diet culture. So the pressure is not on you to lose weight. You don't need to move your body to lose weight, but you need to move your body because it's great for your mental health. It's great for just your body, right? Your body carries you every day. It's good to move it. It's good to just get out of your head, oil your engine, all of those things. So I really wanted us to have a yoga class. And I was really trying to get the yoga class started. But it was so funny and so ironic that the day that we closed the store, in the morning, I attended a Fat Wellness Collective yoga class. Cried my heart out because I'm like, it feels like it's 360. I'm finally here after 9 years. And I put that work in because I knew that I wanted to build a community. I knew that I wanted to actually have rally for plus size people and know that the Curve Cult will be synonymous with safe spaces for plus size folks and for allies, to learn, to heal, to move, to be in community. And so the Fat Wellness Collective feels like such a natural progression of, what I really wanted in the first place. And even the name, right? The name just feels very on the nose because it's Fat Wellness Collective. But I felt like I couldn't call myself fat something when I started the brand because I really had to go through so many obstacles about selling plus size fashion, talking about fat acceptance. So now I feel like I'm in a beautiful space where I can reclaim the word fat, where I can be this is me, this is my brand, this is what I do. Join me if you feel aligned and called to it. And I think a big part of this is also recognizing that a lot of plus size people want to move their bodies. They want to go to gyms. They want to go to, these type of classes. But then just not seeing representation is very tiring. It's also what my experience is in life, right? I walk through the world, I already know I look different. When I'm coming to move my body, I want to be joyful. I want to be around people who look like me. Is that so much to ask? And I know that it's a big ask in a general studio or a gym, but that's why you have the Fat Wellness Collective. And a lot of straight size people come and join us because they're accompanying their friends. And they also feel like the pressure is off. There's no judgment. And you see, I know that this is not I can't ensure that everybody is going to be judgment free, but then we do a vibe check. We always remind our customers. We always start this off at the start of class, to remind everyone what this space is. All the instructors are on board. And I personally have experienced, like I've gone for classes with each instructor that teaches at Fat Wellness Collective, because I will not do a class unless I've done a class with the instructor. So I make sure that they are in alignment with us, in alignment with what we stand for. And then we also go through what's going to happen during the class, before the class, after the class, all of that. So there's a lot of thought that's been put into this. So definitely come and try it.
So all these years, you have been consistent, strong advocate against fat phobia. So I want to ask you, what are some misconceptions you have encountered, and how do you think we can address this in society?
Are you glorifying obesity? I think someone recently made a video on YouTube, like taking a video that I was talking about fat phobic attitudes and then saying, oh, I'm just glorifying obesity, which is so wild to me in 2024 that you cannot understand that I am not saying be as fat as me, become as fat as me. I'm saying if you're fat like me, or if you're fat in general, you can exist too. There's so much difference. I don't understand how these logic leaps are constantly being made every single day. And every time a fat person exists on a social space, people come out and they're like, oh, are you glorifying obesity? Are you saying it's okay to be as fat as you? No, we're just saying that it's okay to exist in the bodies that we're existing in, even if you're choosing not to lose weight, or if you're choosing to lose weight. Whatever you're choosing to do, the body you're in right now, it's okay for you to exist this way. Like, that's literally what we're saying. I cannot wrap my head around why people keep saying, like, are you advocating for obesity? And even the term obesity is just, it's vile. Like, do not use that. Like, just call people as they are, plus size people, Another thing that I've heard people ask me is, okay, but what if you lose weight? Are you not going to be an advocate anymore? And it's, again, right? It's funny because it's funny that you think I'm only advocating for fat phobia or for fat liberation because I'm fat. Yes, it's how I started. But the idea of fat liberation is to tear down the oppressive systems that don't allow fat people to participate in the world, right from clothing to healthcare, to jobs. Like, I will still be passionate, no matter how my body looks like, no matter how my body changes, I will still be passionate about advocating for this cause because it's so necessary.
I could talk to you the whole day, but here comes the last question, because Rani told me she has a lunch appointment. I'm staying religious to the time. What advice would you give to listeners who are struggling to follow their hearts in pursuing their passion or accepting themselves, especially in a society that often promotes unrealistic beauty standards?
Find your tribe. Really sometimes needs to start with one person who has these viewpoints of understanding that these beauty standards are unnecessary, that we need to do better, that status quo is not good enough. And sometimes it starts as small as, even before you find friends, go look at your social media. Like, who are you following? Are you following people who look like you, who have the same skin color as you, same body type as you, people who believe that beauty standards are necessary, people who are not following or conforming to beauty standards? Because a lot of the times I speak to a lot of students and they say that they just consume a lot of general mass media. And I had someone ask me, I really need to check Kim Kardashian's page every single day because Kim K is, for me, the ideal definition of beauty. And I was like, okay, then let's unpack that, right? Because that's also a problem. You wanting to conform to a beauty standard that does not look like you is not even connected to you, but then you think that is the ideal standard of beauty. So look at your social media. Unfollow people who aren't serving you and aren't serving this part of your need to, stop conforming to beauty standards.
But thank you so much today, Rani. I felt like I was in a good therapy, good unpacking session. And it's so beautiful to have you come join us. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
What a beautiful episode this has been. It was lovely speaking to Rani. I could speak to her all day with the amount of empowerment, the kind of passion she's fueled with, and the good work that she's doing. Indeed, I always feel it's about consistently asking ourselves, what do we truly want? What is it that our heart truly wants? And I feel like Rani has it in the sense of she had a deep reflection when she chose to close her fashion boutique store and move on to find out what's next for her and the Curve Cult, yeah? And that brings me to the quote of the month, which is, if you want to know where your heart is, Look at where your mind goes when it wanders. It is such a classic quote. I feel like most of y'all would have definitely heard about this quote. I have always read this quote like growing up, and it always hits, which is why I wanted this on my solo special episode. Because at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, it always boils down to this question, right? If you are unable to sleep, where is your mind going to? And that is where your heart is actually looking at. Something is troubling you deep down in your heart that it is keeping you awake at night. So I feel if it's anything at all, always try to lean in, always listen in to what your heart wants. Give your mind some time to come up with a strategic solution that addresses what the heart wants. At the end of the day, always remember, guys, it's about what makes you truly happy, right? So with that, I will end my solo special episode. What a great year 2024 has been. Here's to an awesome runway ahead of us for 2025. Priya will be welcoming the year with you guys in the January episode. And this is Priyanka joining you guys on Sit Still Look Pretty, cause girl, you're more than a quick gaze.